name's Noah Coker, and with the help of my group, I'll be taking you through the performance of space on Broadway. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the documentary. Johnny, cue the music.
Architecture and the built environment surround us on a daily basis, but how does architecture influence the performance of space? To find an answer, our team went to Lower Broadway to watch how people went through the space and to see how the space impacted our own journey. We went to Broadway on 2 separate days, the first on a weekday when what could be considered normal street conditions occurred, and the second on the weekend when the street was closed to through traffic, leaving the road for the masses. On the first day, we evaluated the behavior of the pedestrians and their behavior based on the way Edward Hill describes territoriality, spacing, and population control as part of behavior on lower organizational levels that underlie culture. On the weekday, there were people only on sidewalks and crosswalks, and the bar fronts that had the most people in front of them were the ones playing live music and had bright lights. This is a spatial practice Lebrov refers to as a representation of space, the relations imposed to people's knowledge, codes, or fronts. People see the elevated sidewalks and keep to those spaces because they convey to the pedestrians that this is where they belong, and to defy this path is dangerous.
Though there are plenty of bars, restaurants, and stores on Lower Broadway, with so many people, it becomes easier to spot the ones that draw people in through music, bright lights, and a well-designed front. On the weekend, we used the same principle as the first day to evaluate the space, but the culture was immediately different from during the week. We talked to a police officer that we saw surveying the street. He seemed eager to talk to us about our documentary. He gave us a lot of useful information, such as the traffic being redirected to different sides.
On Broadway on like a busy night like this?
Generally, it's fun. We end up having a lot of people here who are here to have fun. They do the right thing. We got a ton of Ubers that come through, and then we have a few people that they just get a little too drunk and they need to go sober up in jail. However that ends up looking, but for the most part, it's fun.
Okay. So are you like typically like the only one just like standing right here, or like are you guys all just usually like in your cars or what?
For the most part, we try to stay out of our cars.
Okay.
You may see officers that'll go sit down. If you're out here for 10 hours standing, at some point you want to go sit down.
Yeah.
If you brought your food with you, at some point you want to go sit down. Some of them are doing reports. If they ended up taking a theft report or they had some sort of an issue in their cars. Our feet, we try to do laps, walking around. That way we're visible, we're actually interacting with people, we're able to see the issues before they become an issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, which one?
So I'm here for you now. So, what would you say are like the worst bars on Nashville? If you had to choose like a day where you're going to choose the most rowdy crowd, where's it going to be?
So when you say worst, that's
or best, maybe.
A term that you gotta have to define.
Sure.
If you're talking about just rowdiest crowds, right?
Yeah, like the crowd that you expect that's going to get in trouble with the law.
We really don't have a crowd at any specific bar that's going to get in trouble.
Okay.
Right? It's like I said, most people down here, they're just here to have fun.
Of course.
Right? They behave themselves. They're not here to fight. A lot of times they've got jobs to go back to Monday morning. Last thing they want to do is go to jail.
Absolutely.
So, typically speaking, the most popular bars are the ones that are more likely to have an issue, but that's simply a concentration of the population issue. It's not necessarily because the bars.
So you're talking like Jason Aldean's, you're talking like Kid Rock's, that sort of
Jason
thing.
Aldean's, Kid Rock's, Dutch Bentley down the way.
Oh,
they're
for
all
sure.
very popular.
Of course.
Very popular.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Anytime you take the population and you condense it into a smaller space with a high number of people, the chances that you have an issue go up.
Yeah.
That's not because the bar is bad. That's just because you have more people there.
For sure.
So,
all right. Well,
we don't really have a crowd that comes down and causes problems.
And
yeah.
So what do you think of like all the construction that's happening? Does that affect like the crowds and the way that they move? All like the lines that you see and all the like the boundaries and everything that are placed up, does that affect the way that people move?
To a degree, right? If you were to walk down between First and Second,
like Redneck Riviera.
So past Redneck Riviera,
Okay.
that first block.
Of course.
That first block has 3 bars on one side, 1 restaurant on the other.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as popular as this stretch right here. We have a dozen on each side.
Of course.
The construction is temporary. At some point, that'll be finished. That'll increase the popularity of those blocks.
Yeah.
Because there'll be more people flowing, there's more lights, it attracts more folks down to go see what's going on down there.
Absolutely.
So, as it is right now, they lay the sidewalks out fine. We don't have any issues with people flowing. And when we shut down the road, anybody and everybody can make their way down.
For sure.
So, at some point, those will be open. They've already been doing projects down here where they've widened the sidewalks. If you go up between 4th Avenue and Repton Lewis Way, you'll see there's still construction up there.
Yeah.
That's from them widening the sidewalk.
Okay.
They're specifically trying to make it so there's more space, it's safer for folks to be out here with the number of people we have.
Sure.
Flows down here specifically in terms of the number of people we have.
Yeah.
The city probably has statistics on the number of tourists that we have coming through on an average weekend.
I know it matters.
Right? Because the effect of Broadway is going to be felt 2 and 3 streets over.
Sure.
And so when you're analyzing the number of cars that are coming through, you can probably get statistics on the right. If we could shut down all traffic from the Bunbury to Commerce Street, that would also have a significant effect on the way it feels out here. But it would take money in order to actually install dollars and signs that say, hey, the street's closed after a certain point. And then have to do some re-engineering on those other side streets so the traffic can actually flow around well. Right now we don't have a designated spot for movers to pick up and drop off.
Right. That makes it really hard.
It makes it hard, but it's also costly. If the city was to say we're going to buy a parking lot and we're going to make that a designated spot, now the taxpayers have to pay for that.
This is true.
What are they going to get in return?
Do you think they would pay for that?
I don't know. That would be hard.
That would be.
Right? You'd have to sell to the taxpayer.
It would be.
The city would have to buy into it. There's going to be a cost analysis in terms of how much are we losing as a result of car accidents?
Yeah.
How much would we lose as a result of traffic not being able to flow down here?
Correct.
And what would the gain be?
And it's also just Uber and just like kind of internal.
There's a lot of taxes.
There is a lot of taxes,
So-
a lot of lists. You're right. Absolutely.
And that's a whole other story, right?
Right, absolutely.
The cost of a taxi is probably about 3 times the cost of a Uber.
Right. Really?
We still have taxi drivers, though, that are paying for a license in order to be a taxi driver. So when you're an Uber or Lyft driver, you cut in on their business significantly. Most of the people out here, they're waiting for an Uber. They're not going to jump into the taxi grab. It's the price issue. So the city is taking in revenue for taxi licensing, but the Uber and Lyft drivers decide to go around that whole entire cost. That affects our traffic pattern. That affects the number of accidents, whether it's between fender benders or whatever issues are we have down here. So for the city to have a designated spot costs them money. And they have to somehow prove that the benefits will far outweigh the cost.
I appreciate your time, sir. I really do.
Right.
Wait, I have one.
Good luck on your project.
This doesn't have to be for this, but do you like see a difference? Like, cause I know like Luke Combs is at Nissan tonight. Was it like busier or is this like normal for the weekend?
This is maybe a little bit busier, but we're also coming out of the cold season.
Gotcha.
So if you were here in December when it was like just under 30 degrees with a wind chill,
Oh, yeah.
there were still a lot of people out here,
But
but it's really cold and it was much more limited. So as we get warmer, we get more people that are coming in that want to walk around downtown just because it's more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, if you're out here standing in line and it's 20 degrees, you don't want to do that. But if you're out here standing in line and it's 60, it's not
Yeah, it's comfortable, yeah.
so we have probably more people as a result of the concerts. There's actually several things that are happening tonight. The Symphony, the Richland Arena, all of those contribute, at least to a degree.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys have fun.
Continuing this conversation of the wider impact, the initial wave that is created from Broadway affects Nashville through the price of transportation, such as Ubers and taxis. People moving in and out of Broadway area affects everyone around it. After looking at Broadway on a Monday and a Friday night, there are obvious differences in the way people use space in downtown areas. On Monday night, it only took us a little over 10 minutes to get from one end to the other, but on Friday night, it took us almost 15. The architectural theories, types, and social movements we learned about in both of these classes helped us in thinking of a theme for this documentary and something we wanted to look deeper into.